The Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast, starts now.
Coach, 3 losses in a row, but I think the real concern is the performances. Obviously there's some new changes on the team. It's going to take time. You know, you live by the sword, you die by the sword too. You get a lot of late winners and you get a couple late winners against you, but the performances is the underlying issue here. And the fans, as well as Arne Slot, is having a hard time putting the new pieces together and making them fit.
Well,
2-1 to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Never going to be an easy game, but the performance is really kind of where my head's at and where my frustration is.
Well, I thought it was better than it was midweek against Galatasaray. They actually started the game pretty well, but then Chelsea scored, and I felt Chelsea then gathered a lot of confidence from the goal. They pressed well. They didn't make it easy for Liverpool, and they had the upper hand until the end of the half. So yeah, I mean, sometimes you get outplayed by the opposition, and I think what I would say here is out-hustled, out-pressured, things like that, rather than Chelsea knocking the ball all over the park. So they had the goal and they had the edge going into half-time. Second half, Liverpool did a lot better. They started to create. But Chelsea kept going forward. And late in the game, Liverpool were trying to win it, but Chelsea, as I said, give them credit. They had a lot of energy. And they were threatening. Mind you, so were Liverpool. I thought that Liverpool might have scored 2, but but maybe Chelsea just had that edge again in the last 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, I'm talking just over the whole season so far. You know, the performances haven't gotten better, and we won 4 or 5 games in a row, and a lot of them being last minute winners or last 10 minutes, and it just the pieces aren't making sense right now. It was an interesting experiment by Slot, having taken out Konate and dropping Gravenberch, and then Szoboszlai was on the right wing. So we had 2 of our best midfielders in the back line. Coach, I think the underlying thing and the big elephant in the room is Mo Salah.
Yeah, I think that's what the discussion is going to be about post-game, because, he just... For a long time now, I mean, he's been struggling. I mean, it was the same at the end of last season as well. He was starting to become pretty anonymous in the games. So I think that's going to be a big item of discussion. And I think, as we've said on the pod before, I think Arne Slot, broadly speaking, for the season has a few issues to deal with. And one of them is Mo Salah. I mean, if he's not playing well, he's got to sub him. And Mo Salah historically doesn't like to get subbed, but I think he's got options. He can bring on Chiesa. I think he's a great option. So it's not as though the manager lacks options for Salah. And we all know that in January he's going to be absent anyway because of the African Cup of Nations. So handling Salah, and I said it at the start of the season, and there's enough of the season left to go, but I have a feeling this is his last year with Liverpool. But there's a long way to go. And look, you just see little flashes of quality, like that ball he gave to Isak in the first half. But you've got to balance. Do you want one moment of quality versus 90 minutes of being anonymous? And really, I mean, there's a couple of times when he got into great situations, and he just doesn't seem to have the composure right now. So, yeah, Mo Salah is definitely one of the top things that the manager's going to have to deal with.
When you kind of look at him as a player, and you know, obviously last season was marvelous until the end of the season, but in sports, once you lose the speed, appeared. Okay, can you hear me, Coach?
Oh yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So what I was trying to say there is that it's a young man's game, and once you kind of cross over that barrier where you've lost a step and a half, whatever you want to call it, it's curtains. And I don't know necessarily if that's the case with Salah, but it sure feels that way right now with him, that he is just not. He's not catching. You know, they're trying to go long to him. He's not breaking away from defenders. The one that he did break away from a defender, we found out that he hurt himself. So he was just kind of trying to keep him at bay versus trying to win the ball and stay tight to him. He's not tracking back, so he's not adding anything defensively.
Well, that was a problem in the first half. That was a problem in the first half because what was happening a lot was it was Bradley against Garnacho, and then you had Cucurella coming forward to support. So that was definitely a problem. And I felt sorry for Bradley because, I mean, you know, he was carded and rightly for that one offence, but he's up against Garnacho, who should have been carded for the dive.
Mm-hmm.
And then right before the end of the half, there was the incident where kind of Bradley stuck his foot in, and I'm not sure he really touches him, but Garnacho cries out. So I can understand the manager maybe feeling that he's got to make a change there,
mm-hmm.
because of, you know, like the kind of personality that Bradley's playing against. But as they said on NBC at the end of the game, the fullbacks are an issue. I see nothing wrong with Szoboszlai at fullback because basically, you know, he's just he's more of a straight replacement for Trent. So I don't see that as much of an issue. Robertson offers a lot more once he comes on than Kerkez. He just does more. He's more involved offensively, and then he's solid defensively. So we've not seen a lot of Kerkez in terms of what we thought might be the case of him getting forward and being dangerous, because that's how he was with Bournemouth. We've not seen that side of his game much with Liverpool. I mean, there was one good overlap he made in the first half where he got down to the touchline. But as the commentator pointed out, you know, he had a little more time to look across and maybe pick out somebody. And I just feel, personally, I just feel that Robertson offers a bit more. You know, there's a little more stability. And I think Bradley's fine. I know people will be analysing his game and all that kind of stuff, but I think Bradley's fine on his side of the field. And if you want to stick Szoboszlai back there as well as a Trent type of substitute, I think that's good as well. I mean, but another concern was the first half. I didn't know whether McAllister was playing. You know, he just didn't seem to be in the game. He did come into the proceedings after half time, but I thought he was pretty invisible in the first half. And I don't know if you got that impression too.
Yeah, I did. But I don't think he was like the issue. It also seems like the other teams are breaking free from that midfield that was rock solid last year. So I'm just wondering what's the root cause of all this, right? Is it the fact that, is it Robertson that needs to come in and add some leadership? Is it the fact that Mo Salah has to sit? What's one thing that can kind of catapult this thing forward? Where's the root cause that after that we can find the other causes? Because I don't think McAllister's that. It's just the passing, the errant passing, the unawareness. One move, Gakpo got the ball cut inside, and it looked like he was walking and thought he was all alone, and got the ball picked from him immediately. And it, I thought Wirtz had a better game. I mean, he played a half. I thought he came out really strong. I was watching him run. He was running more. He was, the pass that he had to Salah right at the beginning of the second half was, pure quality. I just don't know where all this is coming from. What do we address first? What do we address second? It just feels like there's just a big pot of just questions and no answers to any of them.
Yeah, for me, I think he's really got to decide on what his midfield is, and to be honest with you, I think it's last season's midfield, and then he's got Jones as a good option. I think he can use Endo more personally, especially if he's going to play a tighter sort of game. So I think in midfield, and then I think that you've got to look at Florian Wirtz more as part of the attacking unit, the attacking three.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's got to go from there. And then he's got to lay down the law with Mo Salah that, hey, if you're not doing it, I've got options. And he has plenty of options. So he may want to flip-flop the two centre forwards, or maybe one of them can play from a wider area. That's up to the manager to decide, But these are good options. So I don't think, certainly in attack, I don't think Liverpool lack options. So sorting out your midfield and then sorting out your defence. I mean, if you want a good defensive fullback, you've got Gomez. And actually something we've seen in the Premier League this year, that all of a sudden the long throw's back in vogue, and Gomez has a pretty good long throw.
Yeah.
So I think we've all got the impression with Arne Slot is he doesn't like to make a lot of changes in terms of the number of personnel that I think the word that a lot of people use is that he trusts. So I think players like Gomez and Endo, I think that they can be used more sensibly. They're not going to be your key players, but I think that they can be involved more and they can play positive roles that support the stronger players, the key players. So yeah, there's a lot for him to think of during the international break. The positives, like the goalie's good. Mohamed Salah a good goalkeeper. I think that's pretty clear. Konate did better today, but he's been very inconsistent. And really, I think the decision there is if he doesn't sign a contract, then they've really got to bring somebody else in January. I think that's pretty black and white.
Yeah, the Leone injury now kind of seems, although he wasn't necessarily slated to be in these type of games, but the option of having him and giving him a look and seeing what he would do. He had a really good game against Southampton before the ACL injury. So, the coach, you brought the fringe players kind of in mind about this. Now, what about a change in formation? What about a 4-4-2 and let you sit Salah, and then you have Ekitike and Isak as your forwards playing off each other with Wirtz right behind them, almost like in a Bobby Firmino role when he kind of used to come into the midfield and let Salah and Mane back in the days kind of let them be the goal scorers. But what if you do that with Wirtz sitting behind them, and then you still have your three midfielders that can kind of operate in the middle, and then you just kind of spread them out a little bit more, or you just have the fullback slide up a little bit more.
So so you're talking about the diamond midfield, then?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, these are all thoughts, but whether you're playing 4-3-3 or you're playing with a diamond midfield, he needs to decide what his midfield three are, and I think really it's Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, and McAllister. I don't see any change there. I don't see any change. And
well, the change would be is moving Salah out of the lineup and bringing in the two forwards as operating off each other.
Yeah. So would you use Salah then if you're going to play him? You play him down the middle. I don't know whether that suits him. You see, one of the things that's maybe limiting is if you think back to an earlier era, you had John Barnes, who basically played out on the left. And then when he got older and he had a couple of serious injuries, they were able to convert him into a ball playing, like a creative midfield player. And I just can't see Salah. Where else can you really play him except out wide? I mean, occasionally late in the game, I think Klopp might try to play him down the middle, but I don't see that as a legitimate tactic, game in, game out. And
well, I'm saying like sit Salah. I'm not even saying him come in the game. Like start that way, and have him sit.
Oh, right. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, yeah. but whether you like it or not, he's one of your key players and your key personalities on the team. So if he's not playing much or his role is diminished, then that can affect the chemistry of the team. And again, neither of us are there to know how that is possible. But it's possible, in theory, because as we said before, I mean, he's never shown great, he doesn't accept being substituted or he certainly struggled with it during the Jurgen Klopp years. Will he find it easier under Arne Slot to be more peripheral? My gut feeling is no.
But at some point, the performances have to be held accountable, right? I mean, well, how many more performances do we have to go through before a decision has to be made?
This is, as we keep saying, this is one of the big decisions for the manager now.
Yeah,
handling Mo Salah in what could well be his last season is a really huge issue.
It's hard to talk about too, right? Because he's a legend. I mean, he gave us so many great moments, and you can literally just see the performances fall off a cliff. Mm-hmm. And nobody's bigger than the club, and it's just hard. Like, I mean, I'm screaming at the TV, just like, what is happening? Like he's cooked. Like to me, it seems like he's cooked, and it's really, really difficult to stomach, difficult to say even, but at some point, like, something has to happen, and it's hard. It's really hard as a Liverpool fan, especially knowing all the moments he gave us, and especially after what he did last year for the majority of the season. But like, somebody else has to be the go-to guy. Somebody else has to be the focal point. I thought Ekitike played really well when he came in. Isak's touch for Gakpo's goal was outrageous. So I'm just wondering, is this the time? Is this the time to maybe switch formations? But I don't know. I mean, I know I'm being pretty drastic and dramatic about it, but it's really tough after 3 games losing. But really, the performances is what stuck out to me today. Was about a performance. Like, let's see a performance, and then, the result wouldn't bother me. But the performance was still the same, and the result, that I guess that bothered me.
Well, yeah, I mean, nobody likes to lose, and now they've lost 3 games in a week. So yeah, back to the drawing board for the manager. But as we keep saying, he's got choices. If he should decide to take Salah out of the mix, I mean, look, he's got Ekatike, he's got Isak, he's got who else has he got? He's got
Frimpong. I mean, yeah.
You see, what is looking strange at this part of the season is Frimpong. I mean, obviously he's dangerous going forward, but essentially he was a fullback. So unless you're going to change your system and go to wing backs, you know, when it comes back to right back and you need somebody that's going to be tight defensively, then I think Bradley's the choice every single time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, unless you're going to change and, you know, play a 3-5-2, and the only way that they could do that, I suppose, is by moving Gravenberg back into the back three, really. And so then you'd have to look at the balance of your midfield. You know, like you still need a number 6 type of player in your midfield if you move Gravenberg back. So yeah, questions to be answered.
So is there a better time to have an international break right now for Liverpool, or is this a bad time because the media has 2 weeks to lambaste and write off Liverpool?
Right, and I think the thing that's interesting is they play Manchester United next, and I think they've won their last 3 games.
Yeah.
And, you know, I did watch their game today, actually, and they look quite good. You know, I wouldn't say that they look impregnable or they'll be chasing the league title this year, but, you know, like they looked pretty solid, and they looked dangerous going forward against a Sunderland team that's been doing very, very well this season.
Mm-hmm. I watched the Arsenal game, and I mean, they were in full control of that one,
which is what you would expect. So
yeah.
I mean, we kind of knew, you know, Arsenal was always going to win that. The Chelsea game, my thought before was it could well be a draw, but it wouldn't be a shock if they lost. And so, yeah, that's how it turned out. And I'm sure that one thing that the manager will be thinking about after 2 away losses to late goals is when they're on the road in those games, maybe they need to manage the game better late in the proceedings. Because both Palace and Chelsea late goals, but it's on the away team's pitch. So again, that might be something that he might need to think about.
Well, he brought in Endo, and I thought that was the signal that he wants to shut it down and just kind of.
Not real. You would think in theory that was it, but Liverpool was still pretty wide apart in terms of the the positioning, you know, so you could play through them. And, you know, like the commentator did point out that for the winning goal that Salah was with Cucurella and then just let him go.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, like that's not that's not a defensive game management type of mentality. I mean, because every player has to be bought into that.
So what's with United next, and everybody? Maybe this is a good break for everybody to get back with their national teams and take a breath. Probably coming back Tuesday, and then the South Americans come back Thursday of the following week. And we'll see how it goes. Coach, is there? This has been kind of a doom and gloom type of podcast. So, what bright spots were there, or what are some signs that maybe this thing can turn around? Whether it's individual performances or whatever it may be.
Well, I think obviously the loss of Alisson is a blow, but it's clear that Mamardashvili is an adequate, well, more than adequate substitute for him. You know, he seems to have a lot of authority, made a couple of good saves. So I don't think that there's a concern there. You know, it's just sorting out how he wants to set up his back four and his midfield three, really. And then as we keep coming back to Mo Salah, you know, how to handle Mo Salah best, given that he's clearly become a peripheral player.
Yeah. Ekitike looked good. Isak kind of floated in and out of games. How do we get Isak more involved and kind of get him back? Is it just a matter of getting more games under his legs?
Could be, but you have to remember that for the bulk of the first half, after they scored, Chelsea had a lot of confidence. They had some energy, and so he really wasn't in the game. I'm sure he'll feel that he should have done better with the one piece of magic that Salah did bring, which was that cross to the back post, because it was a clear header. You know, it was over the defender, and I'm sure he'll feel that he should have, at the minimum, got it on target.
Yeah, the movement was good too. He kind of came inside and then went outside to create the space.
You know, he has a lot of nice touches. And so yeah, I mean, it's a question of Liverpool establishing the style that the manager wants, the style that he's looking for, and then tightening up in certain areas.
I think when you kind of look, look from a broad scope and maybe, kind of elevated look from what is happening, generally speaking, with all the new players, the record, we're still second, right? I mean, that's not terrible. And
no, look, I keep saying it all the time. I think Liverpool will be in contention, but my gut feeling is that this isn't a title-winning team. You know, there are too many factors in Arsenal's favour, and I think that Manchester City will grow into the season. So my gut feeling is that this isn't Liverpool's season to win the title, but they're in contention, so they've got to hang on in there and hopefully prove me wrong.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I don't know if I have anything more to say about this game or kind of the performances over the last 3 days, but it's good to be back with you, Coach. Thank you for covering for me last weekend. The Ryder Cup was amazing. It was a great event that my company, the company I work for, put on. So had a good time and covered the 1-0 game again in Galatasaray. And also, Coach, minus the miracle in Istanbul in 2005, Liverpool has historically had a hard time playing teams there. So maybe we just kind of take this with a pinch of salt and just hope the performances start to turn around. Yeah,
I think that's how we have to look at it. And hopefully players will come back from internationals with a clean bill of health.
Well, Coach, I'm glad you have a level head about all this, because I was going to come in hot and I just took a deep breath before we started. So thank you for calming my nerves a little bit on all this. And everybody, thank you for listening. We'd love for you to comment in on Facebook or YouTube, and also the audio podcast. So appreciate everybody. Thank you for watching. And I guess other than that, United's next.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye now.
Coach and I want to take a second to thank everybody for watching on YouTube or whether you're listening via podcast. Please subscribe or follow the show wherever you consume your content. We are looking forward to continuing to bring you the best Liverpool content out there. We'll see you next time.